Gameranx presents another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and some first impressions of the latest games releasing. Today we're talking about Battleborn, the newest first-person shooter cross MoBA-lite type of game made by Gearbox, the creators of Borderlands. And I think, honestly, maybe that might be the only reason why it's worth talking about. So what we have here is a MoBA-lite shooter with a campaign and 3 different PvP multiplayer modes, the best modes being capture and incursion modes that have MoBA-style elements. There's minions to escort, tower and things to defend, things to build to defend said things, and just, you know, those MoBA tropes. And overall, spoiler alert, I'll say that Battleborn is solid and fine, but ultimately kind of forgettable. Forgettable is definitely the word here. Actual gameplay feels, you know, much more arcadey than you might expect. It's very fast-paced, it's frantic, and ridiculous. Actual progression of a match does feel pretty good. Objectives and locations change as the match goes on, and traversals feel alright, with most characters being able to get across the map very quickly, although some characters much faster than others. As a character, you use points earned to unlock and upgrade certain different defense turrets and other items around choke points and areas that need to be defended throughout the map. Also, as the match progresses, you're able to open up a skill tree and choose upgrades to your abilities in the heat of battle. Each character starts out with 2 different abilities, with 1 more unlocked later on, and all these abilities range from buffs to healing to attacks to ranged attacks to area effects. There's something for every character and every player. And upgrading your abilities in this little skill tree on the fly during a match is cool because it adds a little bit of a layer of strategy. Do you upgrade stuff that you might need in the moment in the heat of battle, or do you wait until a lull in between waves to carefully choose your next upgrade? It's a small little element that I did kind of appreciate. Of course, you know, you can't deny there is all the comparisons between Overwatch and Battleborn, and I will say, in Battleborn's defense, they are very much different games, but it's easy to compare the two, especially when they both rely on heroes. And I'll be honest, it looks like Overwatch's heroes are much better. But it always doesn't feel quite as solid in the controls as Borderlands did. Maybe it's just the weapon and the melee impact. Maybe it's some sort of odd dead zone in the joystick sensitivity. But I will say that things feel much better playing on PC with a keyboard and mouse. I'd say if you have the choice, play this on PC. What is interesting here, and I think might be a selling point for some, is that there is a full single-player and co-op campaign. While it does feel very much grounded in the style of multiplayer gameplay, there is enough here going on to make it feel kind of fleshed out. There's dialogue, there's NPCs, and things and set pieces happening that make it feel like it's at least worth playing through. It's at least semi-substantial, you know? It can get a little boring after a few hours, but if you do co-op with friends, it makes it better. Things actually happen in the campaign, events happen, things pop up, characters talk to you, but I will say that occasionally a story quest will kind of bug out, or an NPC will get stuck on geometry. I'd say the thing that saves this game the most is the overwhelming amount of playable characters. There's actually 25, and each of them have their own skins, little backstories and lore, abilities, and playstyles. There's a good mix here of heavy tank characters, healer and support characters, ranged characters, and melee characters. However, here where we get into the kind of forgettable territory is that this is kind of somewhat a hero shooter game, and the game relies very much on the heroes that are built within the game. The characters themselves here, though, feel somewhat throwaway. You know, it is kind of cool that there are different tropes here. There's a Sith Lord type character, there's a heavy machine gunner guy very similar to Team Fortress, and basically most characters are some sort of reference or homage to pop culture or video games. But like I said, they all just feel kind of throwaway. None of them really stick, and you're not gonna care about them at all. But then on the other hand, you can argue, does that even really matter? Because the gameplay here is solid, it is fun, and it is fast. What you cannot ignore is the presentation, which I think is kind of 50-50. You know, the way everything's presented, the way matches start, and the intro of the game is this whole 80s animation thing, is really cool, but it also is very much that trademark Borderlands Gearbox humor, which is kind of over the top and extremely obnoxious. You know, it's funny, but every single character is really obnoxious and shouting and overdoing it and yelling video game references or out-of-date meme jokes. I'll say at least that the voice actors they hired are very good, but they are all really overdoing it. But for some people, you know, that sense of humor is good, and I get that, but I just have to acknowledge that for some people, it's going to be really annoying. While the style and the actual personality personality of the characters doesn't really matter. I will have to emphasize that the amount of characters is great from a gameplay perspective, because there is a lot of content to play through, and if you think about it, you know, if you want to try out and level up each character one by one, you can. There's a shitload to explore here because each character plays almost completely differently and has their own unique abilities and abilities that you level up in-game, coupled with all the stat tracking, the credits, the leveling up, and actual gear that you can find and use and equip to use with your character in battle. It makes Battleborn, honestly, kind of surprisingly deep and complex, and I say that's a good thing, especially when you get in a multiplayer match where everybody knows what they're doing. When they're not, it's a shit show and it's a mess, and some people get really pissy.
Is anyone on mic? Anyone on mic? We need to get thralls. Does anyone understand that? Oh my god. This is... Man, if you see an opening and we're all together, we have to push forward. We had an opening, everyone just took off. What the hell's going on, man?
But otherwise, matches do get intense and nail-biting, and they can last a half an hour. They don't feel like they're that long because they are entertaining. So that's the weird thing here with Battleborn, is that there is depth. The gameplay is fairly solid. It's fun. It's somewhat complex. There's enough content here to play through. But on the other hand, it just doesn't stick with me. Like, I keep using the word forgettable because ultimately that's how I feel. That is, of course, my opinion, but, you know, you just gotta take that for what it is. It's a fun game in short bursts, and especially with friends. But since the rest is forgettable, will it stick around? Does it have the legs? I'm not totally sure, and I am definitely convinced that this game is not for everyone. But other words, it is fine, and it does warrant a playthrough. It doesn't feel as half-assed as it could have been. So guys, those are the things I think you need to know about Battleborn. I gave you the facts, I gave you the information, and I told you, you know, how I kind of feel about it. I do want to know in the comments what you guys think of this game, because I've seen a lot of people who just don't give a shit, but then there are some people out there, maybe they're just big Gearbox fans, that are excited, so I do want to hear from them as well. Let me know or ask me any questions you have about Battleborn at all. I'll be down in the comments, and I'll also be on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and all that stuff. You guys know the deal, though. If you like this video and you like the Before You Buy videos, clicking the like button helps us out so much. We appreciate you watching, but if you are new, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.